This podcast is part of the Zeo to Hero Podcast Network. Hello, all my beautiful people. It's time for another fun episode of
If You Give a Dad a Podcast.
Whoa. Hey, Dad.
Bodacious, yeah.
And that's where Beerus was created.
Oh my gosh, it was the best experience of my entire time in wrestling.
Hunky Dory.
Seriously?
I think you said Undead Assassin so perfectly.
Where you kind of like cocked your head to one side and you're like, wait a minute, you're the voice of Wishbone?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did the series The Beauty.
Jared, that was beautiful.
It was Deadpool, but if Deadpool were, Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger.
Bruh.
I did those on my own, and I got in trouble for them.
Oh no.
I'm a fine, upstanding citizen. I don't know what you're talking about, Bert.
And just a reminder before we get started here, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to iGadap wherever it is you're listening. Hit that notification bell so you are notified when a new episode drops. Also, make sure that you go out there and rate and review this episode. Tell me what you think of it. And the more people that do that, the more likely I am to be recommended to somebody else. Now, on to the show. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming back to the show. My name is Jared. I am the host here at If You Give a Dad a Podcast. And I have a returning guest today. I'm really excited to talk to him. He is an artist. He is a writer. He is the creative director at Ignition Press, and he's the host of the podcast called Curious Haunts. He's done all kinds of other really cool stuff, as well as worked with DC, Marvel, IDW, Image, and a bunch more. He has a new comic book that just came out called Murder Podcast. And I'm talking to Jeremy Haun. Man, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we saw each other, what was it? Was the beginning of the year, I think, like February or March, I believe, at ArtCon. And
Right.
We got to do a panel while we were there. And you've had a lot going on since the last time I got to talk to you.
Yeah, I've been a busy boy. It's been a heck of a year. We've been, well, there's always that thing where you realize that you work on stuff for a long time and you can only talk about it at a certain point. And
Right.
so it feels like lately, like all this stuff is hitting at once. I've been like, all this stuff is kind of hitting at once, but it's been carefully laid plans over the course of definitely a couple of years here.
Right. Well, I mean, I remember at the end of the first time you were on the show, you told me that, there was some stuff that was going to be coming out here soon and you'd love to come back and talk about it. And I'll know what it is as soon as I see it. And then I started seeing stuff come out. I'm like, oh, okay. And I think I actually messaged you. I was like, I see what you mean. So yeah, it's like you said, it's been years of stuff carefully planned out, coming out. And so we're just going to kind of jump into it and talk about all the cool stuff that you have going on. And I kind of want to start off with the last thing that I brought up, and that was the new comic book, Murder Podcast.
Right.
I have the 0 issue. I've got the digital, so I got to read it. And I am patiently waiting for issue 1 and issue 2 to come to my house. Kind of talk about starting that story.
Yeah. When I knew that we were going to be debuting books at Ignition Press, I started, every creator always has this laundry list of projects that they want to do,
Right.
And my list over the years, as I was writing and drawing at the same time, the projects kept growing and growing. I think it's like 26 projects right now stories that I want to tell, you start to get older and you're like, hopefully I can tell them all in my life. But yeah, it's like 26 stories, and I had a few things that we discussed internally at Ignition, like what I was going to possibly do for the first project. And Murder Podcast was a newer project that I come up with, just in the past couple of years, and probably a year and a half. And it was just one that stuck with me, and it was a fun story, and it felt kind of timely, and I didn't want, there were already things that I was like, oh, please don't be like it, and they weren't. But I just didn't want anybody else to beat me to this one. And
Yeah.
so the way that the story even started was uh, we have a fire pit in our backyard, and a group of us get together.
Uh-huh.
And there was a conversation going on. A few people were sitting there. We're all having drinks, and I kept hearing like talk about something. I was like, "What are you guys talking about? A horror movie?" And they're like, "No, no, we're talking about a true crime podcast." And I
Okay.
was and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds like an absolute horror movie. It sounds terrible." And I listen to podcasts myself. I think we all kind of do.
Yeah.
And I've definitely listened to true crime podcasts.
Right.
But it got me to thinking about just how that true crime itself is often more horrific than any
Right.
of the craziest horror stories that are out there. And
Absolutely.
I was like, I don't really want to just tell like a true crime story. I want to tell something that sort of bridges supernatural horror
Yeah.
and true crime. And so the concept was simple. It was, what if there is a podcast that keeps popping up randomly on people's feeds that makes them go into a fugue state and murder everyone around them? It and I like went out, I had thought about it, and I told a couple people, and they were like, that is so disturbing. And
It's so awesome though.
I well, and then I mean, like, you've read the Zero issue. I don't want to
Yeah.
spoil anything for our listeners here, but like,
Right.
um from jump, from issue one, I don't pull any punches. I immediately come out the gate swinging. And the thing about it is that if this could happen to anybody, part
Right.
of the terror and the fun is having it happen to everybody.
Right.
If you hear it, no matter who you are, no matter what it is, you will kill everybody around you, or
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's the examination. And I love female protagonists.
Yeah.
That was a thing that I've had in several of my stories.
Right.
I
Right.
love in the Red Mother,
Hmm.
Daisy, the character in that, she was so much fun to write, and I kind of want to write more of those kinds of focusing on like female friendships. And so the lead is the lead. It's a group. The ensemble
Yeah.
is a group of five true crime podcast obsessed women,
Gotcha.
and they what was really fun with it was I wanted to pull from our friend group.
Uh-huh.
So there's part of the extra fun of this project was actually interviewing people I know, and kind of, choosing this little aspect of this friend, and this job that this friend has,
Right.
and just putting them together. And, so it's definitely a story that is big on the horror, big
Yeah.
on the brutality, but at the heart of it, it's really about like friendships, and sort of the bond that happens in a group of people,
Yeah.
and the way that sort of our love of types of stories
Right.
has to.
Well, and you brought a few things up there, and the Zero issue kind of sets the tone for the amount of brutality that you're going to have in this story. And if I'm right, this is actually set apart from the rest of the storyline and the Zero issue, correct?
Yes,
It's just kind of getting you a feel for what's about to happen.
with the so explaining again to your listeners, the Zero issue, we call it a cold open.
Uh-huh.
And the cold open, what we kind of conceptualized it to be is a Zero issue, a look at the story that can stand apart enough but
Yeah.
still be connected to the major series. Like
Right.
sometimes you get that thing where you get the introduction to a book, but it's only like the first 8 pages or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to at Ignition, we wanted to tell a satisfying story that can completely stand on its own. You could just read that story and it would be
Right.
fine.
Right.
But like, the cold open in film or television terms is um let's use the Bond movies as an example.
Okay.
Uh, at the beginning of every Bond film, there's always an adventure that he's just finishing up,
Yeah.
and so you see like the big scene where he's chasing the guy with the bomb,
Right.
all through a city or whatever,
Yeah.
and then there's the big climax, and then the credits start. So imagine that, the cold open, as the scene from something else before that connects
Gotcha.
back in a larger way.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of the show Supernatural, and
Mhm.
it definitely gave me that vibe, whenever I was reading that. And I love that kind of stuff. This is one that I'm very much looking forward to, and the fact that I'm a podcaster. So the second I saw that it's a comic book about a podcast, I was like, okay, let's see what we got going on here. So it's definitely one for people who are listening right now. You should get a copy of this. When you get a chance, do it, get a copy, because it already seems like it's going to be an amazing story from what I've read so far.
I mean, if I will say this, if you are a fan of true crime podcasts or podcasts in general, if you
Yep.
like horror at all,
Yep.
this is the book for you. It
Yep.
it really is a love letter to fans of those things. I think that um, sometimes people get in their heads with comics. They're like, oh, they're superhero stories,
Right.
and the thing about it is they can be anything.
They can.
And
Yeah.
I look at, good comics are more akin to like good television. They can be anything. They can be any genre, and hopefully pull some people in.
Do you remember a comic called Weird Wars?
Gosh, I know. I think the name. I'm so bad with.
It was an older one, but it was almost like if Tales from the Crypt were telling really weird war stories.
Okay, yeah.
And it's one I found a couple issues of it at a garage sale one time, and I read those so much that they started falling apart. But there was one of them was it was about World War I, and both sides were saying, "Oh, this angel is here to help us. They're on our side." And so they just kept fighting harder and harder until all of them were dead. And then the last thing you see, it's the angel of death, and he's actually there for all of them. And so I loved even those weird comics that were like that. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a superhero. You're telling a story in this medium, and you can tell any story that you want.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I like I said, I find it to be a very, very exciting time for comics, and we're getting to do a lot of cool stuff.
For sure, for sure. So this brings up Ignition Press. This is something else that is newly starting, and I'm seeing stuff almost every day when it comes to Ignition Press and what you guys are doing there. If you don't mind talking about, how this came about, because it sounds like this is something that you've been working on for a very long time.
Yeah. I sometimes I wonder if something's just wrong with me. It's never enough to just make comics or I'm not really good at staying in my lane. How about that? One of the things that if you look across the comics industry, you could argue to the world in general in some ways, but if you look across the comics industry, we've had a pretty tough time over the past few years. I think you have the pandemic, which is incredibly tough and took a toll on shops, on publishers, on readers even.
Right.
And then you go forward, and a lot of companies suddenly shutting down, a lot of mid-size independent companies where people could tell their own stories.
Yeah.
We're kind kind of shutting down all at once, a lot of uncertainty because of that. And then, I mean, one of the biggest things in the past year is Diamond,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest distributor out there,
Right.
shuttering, at least for a while. They're having some real complexities that is
Yeah.
too much to get into right now. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of uncertainty in the industry, and I think that one of the things that we tend to do is sort of you look around you and you see a lot of problems,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very easy to sort of lean into that. We talk more about what the problems are than sometimes the possible solutions. It's always the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
Right.
I talk a lot about, like when you're in your 20s, you live in small towns, and you're always like, somebody needs to like, oh, there aren't any good venues for music, or oh, there isn't this or that. Somebody needs to do this.
Right.
And then you get, quite nearly 50, and you realize at a point that the someone has to be you.
Yeah.
And I'm incredibly fortunate to have done a lot of work with a producer that I've worked on projects with, Eric Gitter, and myself, our publisher Philip Sablik, and editor-in-chief Jamie S. Rich. The three of us have been friends forever, and
Okay.
and we sort of were having these conversations about what the industry needed.
Yeah.
And Gitter came along and said, okay, well, fellas, put your money where your mouth is. If rather than saying somebody needs to, fix it. Fix it just a little bit. Do a good thing. So that's what we're hoping to do. We've taken that list of things that we felt like were wrong and compiled it. And then we made a separate list of all the things that we felt like were right, were really beautiful and wonderful and hopeful about the industry.
Yeah.
And we did it.
Well, I mean, and the thing is there's so much that you guys have going on. I mean, the amount of people that are being brought on as creators to help with this, I mean, even people that I've had here on the show, and so, I mean, it's really nice to see this group come together, because you can tell that not only is it a passion, but it's something, like you said, it's something that needed to be done. And so seeing all these people come in, you can see that there's something good going on here with the amount of people that are saying, yeah, I'm going to be a part of this.
I'm blown away. I mean, plain and simple. You don't know, anytime that you make something, whether it's a comic itself,
right,
or any kind of venture, any kind of enterprise that you do, you don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
You hope, you have aspirations.
Yeah.
But from the moment that we started explaining who we were and what we were doing, and the why behind what we were doing, the industry stepped up. People got genuinely excited.
Right.
And, I mean, some of the lineup you've mentioned, I mean, of course you're going to call your friends that you absolutely believe in. One of the first phone calls was to Cullen Bunn.
I actually have him listed on here.
yeah. Cullen is wonderful, but our starting lineup, I mean, it's we've got Cullen Bunn, Stephanie Williams, Leah Williams, who, even though we joke that the Williams sisters are not actual sisters, but we're going to keep saying that. But
make it canon.
Yes, exactly. Stephanie and Leah Williams. We've got Andy Parks, Phil Hester, Tim Seeley, Cy Spurrier. We keep bringing more and more people on. I mean,
Right.
and as I kind of said, there's the things that you can't even share, right? Like
Right.
the you're seeing phase one, and there's five or six phases at this point, and we are focused on empowering true creative voices. That's the thing that matters to us.
Yeah. Yeah. How hard has it been knowing what's coming next to not just I want to tell somebody?
I mean, I have a cat. I tell him everything.
They're good listeners. Yeah.
Yeah. No, what's one of the weirdest things? I'm gonna dodge your question expertly.
Okay.
You're ready for
All
this?
right. Yeah.
No, I'll come back to it. But I've always done creator-owned stuff,
Right.
done a ton of stuff through Image and small companies, but I've mostly worked as a creative. And stepping into the company side of things, you see things from a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
You understand sort of how difficult it actually is to build something.
Yeah.
Understand how difficult it is to keep stuff quiet.
Yep.
And you really try to lean into, like that. One of the nice things I think is, luckily, Philip and Jamie are some of my favorite people in the world.
Right.
We get to commiserate in all of this and talk amongst ourselves. And the staff's grown. I mean, we have a fantastic staff that we keep adding incredibly talented people. Bree Sarpy is our director of marketing, and she is thinking about things in a completely different way.
Right.
We got Maggie Howell in editorial. Scott Newman is our designer. Like every single person that we add,
yeah,
it becomes a better, stronger group. So we just all chat amongst ourselves, and then
right.
Try to not let anybody else know. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was gonna say, you've got your people that you would tell are already a part of it. So
right.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, and that makes it more fun too, because you're doing it with the people that you would want to do this with. So that makes it even all the more important and more fun, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I will actually. I'll give you a little inside baseball story though.
Okay.
We actually were not going to originally reveal ourselves as early as we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think just over. So it would have been just over a year ago. We had to kind of come out and say that we were doing this thing, and the reason for that was because people were putting it together. Like we had kind of been very, very tight-lipped for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And Philip, Jamie, and I were out in LA together for a big meeting, and we went into Golden Apple Comics together, and like watching a couple people go, what are you three doing here together? And we're like, oh, yeah,
we're friends. What of it?
Yeah, we're friends. I'm visiting from Missouri.
Yeah,
out of the clear blue. But word does travel fast. Especially when people get excited about something.
Right.
Philip was kind of the guy at Boom for a decade.
Right.
Jamie was editor-in-chief over at IDW, and I think, coming over and, leaving those spots, people were expecting big things from them. And when you're working at companies that big, you know, there's only you can only go up.
Yeah.
And I think people were starting to speculate that it was a company of their own.
Right. Yeah.
And it was.
Well, and I I'm glad that you guys actually were able to do that, to come out and tell everybody, that way I could bug you in a message and be like, "Oh, dude, this is so cool that you're doing this." But there's another portion that I want to bring up, and it is the podcast that you're doing now.
Yeah.
You're actually, it's a lot of fun. I actually sat down and I listened to all 3 episodes today, and I really enjoyed it. How you got to go to to the hotel where The Shining was inspired, and you got to do all different kinds of things. And the amount of, I'm just going to say this, I'm a little jealous as a podcaster, because the production quality of your podcast is amazing.
Well, thank you. I am going to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I owe 1,000% of that to my son Ethan,
Yeah.
and to his best buddy Nick Neal.
Okay.
Nick is going to film school right now.
Oh, right on.
And he and Ethan have been working together on some short film stuff.
Uh-huh.
And we're just doing amazing things together. And when I decided I was going to do this crazy thing, I knew sort of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But, as it happens, when you're a family and you're sitting around talking about stuff,
Yeah.
like Ethan was like, we could help. And and it went from what I felt like was a cool idea to something that like really bloomed, and just the artistic flair that those two bring to the project,
Yeah.
really makes it shine.
Yeah. I love how everything looks. I gotta ask, that's your actual office in the video, correct?
Kind of. It's this is ridiculous. So I we do a lot of historic restoration.
Yeah.
Just trying to, we love Joplin, and
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
and really one of our biggest goals is to try to, give back to our city and save some of the beautiful architecture here.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of historic restoration over the years. Along the way, I bought a warehouse to prevent it from being knocked down. It was going to be a parking lot, and so so we purchased that, and have been restoring this cool old warehouse.
Yeah.
It's like a old paper company. And so one of the things that I did was I put, and this is where it gets silly sounding, I because of the way that a lot of my thought process works, if I'm in my studio where I am right now, it's my drawing studio.
Yeah.
It's behind my house.
Right.
If I'm in here, I feel like I should be drawing. I feel like I'm betraying my duties if I'm not drawing.
I
And
get
so yeah, so I in the warehouse, I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a writing space for myself in there.
Yeah.
And when you have a warehouse, it's pretty big. I was like, well, I can sort of take some of the stuff from my writing office and some of the stuff from my studio space, and I can take another little room and I can make another office, a set,
right,
that is sort of, it's all, and it's filled with all these crazy oddities, these things I've for forever, since I think there was something I was actually looking at the other day that's in there that I purchased purchased from an estate sale in 1997.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. So I mean, there's stuff in there that I just like weird stuff that I've picked up.
Yeah.
Like old vacuum tubes that I got from my great grandfather, and just weird, strange, spooky stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I put it back there, and yeah, so it's in my office,
Right.
but it is the next room that is sort of a film, little stage.
I got you.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast and its host Jared are part of the Three Ranger Bros Studios. 3 content creators join forces to create their own YouTube channel where you can find geeky, nerdy and fun videos with many different flavours of geekiness. From Power Rangers to video games to story writing, the 3 bros have it all, including their very own podcast called Within the Writer's Room. Jared, among others, are known as the Council. They're not the 3 Ranger Bros, but they are part of the group and are equally important. Make sure you check out the 3 Ranger Bros Studios on YouTube, or on Linktree, where you can find the 3 Ranger Bros Studios YouTube channel and everyone's individual content. It's a lot of fun. We'll see you there.
So you said something there when you're talking about your actual office behind your house and how you feel like you should be drawing when you're out there. The amount of artists that I've had on this show, and I think you were one of them that did this, that said, hey, do you mind if I work on some of my drawing while we talk?
Right.
And I think Phil did that when he was on the show with me, and there was one other person, I can't remember who it was, that I had on the show, and I always thought that was cool because it was something that many of you do. You're in your art studio, so you're like, I need to work on my craft while I'm here. So I definitely respect that.
I mean, it's just a fact of making comics.
Yeah.
These things,
you got deadlines too, so
I mean, I'm ridiculous and bring a lot of it on myself. I love I love drawing. As I go, things get more and more complex, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but that's actually been one of the things though that's been interesting is you only have so many hours in a day, and when you decide that you're going to be creative director at a company,
yeah,
and work with partners on building something special, plus write a whole bunch of stuff, and do a podcast and all sorts of other ridiculousness, you sort of do have to give up a little bit of something, and so. I think the thing that's, if anything has suffered, I think the thing that has actually suffered for me has been being able to do much with interior art for comics. So I still do a lot of covers. I literally have 2 that I'm working on that are sitting in front of me right now.
Okay.
But day in and day out, me getting to do interior art on comics has had to kind of take the back seat for a little while. It's something I'm gonna get back to.
Right.
I'm not.
It's not over.
Not yet. I'm not retired as an interior artist. I just need some time to sort of get ignition into a place where we can promise people that we're going to do what we say we're going to do the way we say we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And and we've shown, that's kind of a, it's not just creators or fans or retailers. Right. It's like it's kind of everybody. You gotta. So there's a lot of work involved in that.
Right.
And I'm just writing a lot right now. Like I can't believe. Today I was writing on issue 6 of Murder Podcast.
Yeah.
And then Hurley and I were messaging back and forth about issues 4 and 5 of the new Beauty series.
Yeah.
And it's just it's like, wow, this is a lot to keep in your head at once.
Well, it's got to be a proud thing for you too, because I mean, all of these things that you have going on have, flourished, bringing up the beauty. They've got the new series that's going to be coming out on FX, that's being run by Ryan Murphy, which, that's amazing. One of my favorite things that he's done is American Horror Story. So,
Absolutely.
seeing that, I think as soon as I saw that, that was one of the things I did message you about, immediately as soon as I saw it. And what was the reaction when you found out that this was going to happen?
I'm going to disappoint you because there's so many stages to, they talk about like stages of grief.
Yeah.
There's also stages of utter befuddlement and joy, which is pretty much what I felt. The process for this, for the show, for what has become the FX version of The Beauty, has been going on for years.
Okay.
And when you talk about having to keep your mouth shut about something, that's been a thing.
Yeah.
Even for as tight-lipped as everybody was, parts of it still kind of got out there over time.
Right.
But it wasn't until this last year where, we knew it was real. One of the craziest things was we knew it was coming. It was like waiting for Godot. We knew eventually it would get here.
Right.
But it was about the waiting.
Yeah.
And I think there was a point with it where Hurley and I were like, we're starting to feel like a pair of liars here. Like we're like,
yeah.
Like, no, seriously, like, no, there is going to be a show.
It's going to happen. I promise.
Yeah. So now we're to this point where like it's like at New York Comic Con, they're doing a big panel about it.
That's cool.
And I know that,
are you going to be at that?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, but just when you look at the work that Ryan and Evan and Rebecca and Handsome Jeremy, he's but like all these amazingly talented people that are doing fantastic things with the show.
Yeah,
what they're doing, it's so weird to see it at this point because I'm just like I know it's coming but it's still just like I don't know if it's real until I see that first episode.
Right. I get that. Yeah. So it's actually funny in the intro to my every year I redo the intro to my show and add new parts in from episodes that I've done over that last year. And so you talking about the beauty actually made it into the intro of this year's episode or this year's intro. So yeah, it's funny because then I found somebody else saying, Jared, that was beautiful right after you say talking about the beauty. I was like, so it's but yeah, it's been something that I'm excited to see, and I understand what you're saying, because that it's real, but you don't feel that it's real until you actually see it in front of you, and the anticipations, it's got to be killer.
Oh, absolutely. We get to be involved in this thing, but one of the things that like we constantly get asked. So anybody that's curious about this, I'm going to go ahead and share this little part. People constantly ask, they're like, oh, like do you get to control what, what it's like, do you get to say, do you get to have say in it?
Right.
The reality is, Ryan and his team are remarkably, respectful to the book.
Right.
They care about what it is and where it came from. While Hurley and I are absolutely involved in the process, working as creative consultants on it and talking with them, always being there to answer questions that they need us.
Yeah.
The reality of it is I don't care. uh, I we made the comic, and that is our thing.
Right.
And a show, be it good or bad. Now this one's going to be good, so we're incredibly lucky.
Absolutely.
But the reality of it is that we made our thing. So this is a beautiful, wonderful, super cool variation on what we did.
Yeah.
If you look at the Walking Dead comic and then you look at the Walking Dead show,
Right.
while there are things that run throughout them and there's similarities and scenarios and everything, they're not the exact same thing.
No.
And there's plenty of places
Right.
in the comic or in the show that people are like, oh, Robert, Charlie, Tony, were you pissed off that they changed this? And it's like, well, no, because it's a different medium, it's a different thing. And
Right.
so I don't know. I'm just excited that it exists. I am
Right.
grateful for it. One of the best things about this is that every time that creatives are involved in the next, phase of whatever a story is, if it's a movie or a television series or a video game or whatever,
Yeah.
it allows creatives to tell more stories. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. Is
Right.
the difference is, well, I'm also gonna be completely honest here, like, hey, making comics is fantastic. It's
Yeah.
it's the best career. It's the career for me, and I love it more than anything.
Right.
People making comics are typically just getting by, just like everybody else out there.
Right.
You know, um, it's always, you're always trying to have to figure out what the next thing is. You're hoping that your thing hits so that, you can feed your kids or
Right.
get those new tires for your car that you need.
Yeah.
Whenever you have some other kind of outside media involved in what you're doing, the thing that it does, I'm gonna stay living here in Joplin. It doesn't mean I'm gonna suddenly be able to buy a mansion in Beverly Hills at all.
Right.
I might be able to get those tires for my car, or,
Yeah.
but the reality of it is that it allows us to comfortably tell more stories.
Right. Right.
You don't have to worry about necessarily, next week. You can, maybe a few months.
Right. Right. So going back to one thing you said though, and as much as comics are a lot like a storyboard for making a TV show, there are things that work better on TV that don't really work in comics, and vice versa. So you're going to expect those differences to happen because you're going to be able to do other things that you weren't able to do in a comic, or you're going to do things in a comic that doesn't really translate the same when making a TV show. So it's going to have some differences. It's not going to be the exact same. It's and I like that because it gives you almost an interpretation for that next person's view of that story.
Yep.
So there's a couple more things that I want to talk about since I got you here, and one that you just came back from. Actually, I talked about this with my guest last week too, and that's San Diego Comic-Con. You just came back from that, and you guys had a whole storefront set up for this, didn't you?
Yeah, we're glutton for punishment, aren't we?
Hey, it looked cool to me. I wish I could have went to it. So
it was amazing. It was there's what you see in your head and you're like, oh, this is pretty close. This is a really cool version.
Yeah.
But it was better than that. Like it was the line outside the door.
Yeah.
The first day. My son Ethan went with me, and we we walked up and saw the line outside the door, and I mean, like it nearly brought tears to my eyes, and just the space itself and the way that we were able to, as Ignition, just celebrate
Right.
the creatives that were there.
Yeah.
We had Roy and Naki Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
We had Stephanie and Leah Williams, the Williams sisters again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim Seeley and Cullen Bunn. We had Jim McCann was there. David Baldione, who was doing Voyeur with Leah Williams there. Like, there
Wow.
were so many fantastic creators that we got to bring along and sort of share in the joy of this space. This was a celebration of all of the things that they made.
Yeah.
Mike Tisserand and Hurley. Mike Tisserand is my artist on Murder Podcast, and Jason Hurley is my co-creator on The Beauty, and they both got to be there, and just having this place with like merch, there were t-shirts and prints and stickers and all these amazing things. And it was just a celebration of these things that we've made. And I don't know. It was wonderful.
Did it make you kind of be like, man, I wish this could just be a storefront that we do?
No, because I know how hard it was to actually run it. And
how long did it take y'all to set that up?
Months and months. We had been planning it for about 3 months, maybe a little bit longer. But then, I mean, I can't not give mad props to Scott, to our designer. He designed everything in there, from the logo to the wall clings to the shirts, and the every item for the gachapon machine and every book on the like he did so much work. I think we nearly killed him, but he persevered.
Yeah, tough guy.
Yeah.
So listening to your podcast, it brought up a few questions that I wanted to ask you about. And one of the things that I saw was Late Night with the Devil. I have to say that movie was very interesting in the way that they took that, and it left, kind of questions at the end. And I really like that. What were some of the things in that kind of you drew from it that you really liked? Because that was one thing, and I think in your first episode that you brought up as a movie that you really enjoyed watching recently.
Funny quick story aside, I actually got to meet David Dishmalshin this last weekend at LA at Midsummer Screen, and he was lovely. He was lovely. He was the star of Late Night with the Devil, and but there's my little aside, name drop, if you will. But what did I like one of the things about horror is that as lifelong horror fans, you get used to there being a variety of kinds of horror out there. There's good, there's bad, there's really bad, kind of thing. We've been in a bit of a renaissance lately for good horror. There's been more hits than misses,
Right.
There's still a lot of misses, but still. I love when horror takes things that
Yeah.
Late Night with the Devil is effectively a sort of a possession story, right? It's a leans into some of the tropes of some stuff that we know from The Exorcist and various things along the way.
Yeah.
But it played it differently, and it played it so well.
Yeah.
It leaned into the set design and the kind of that 60s or sorry 70s vibe.
Right.
And it played it so straight for a while, and then it just got weirder and weirder, and then the end just goes to a completely different place.
Yeah.
I like being surprised by things, and I feel like that movie did it.
Right. I definitely felt that the ending did get me. I didn't expect that. And so it was, but I loved how, it had that kind of documentary feel, and it was just like recording what happened. And you could tell when, okay, well, the TV's going, this is what you're seeing from the TV point of view. Well, now this is behind the scenes, and it gave it that little bit more of a real feel, and I really enjoyed the different aspects that they gave you with that movie. It was very unique, and I found that a lot with A24 films. I've been enjoying more of their horror than really a lot of other ones, especially lately. I've just enjoyed so much of theirs, and I think the first one for me that I watched was like Hereditary, and just that unsettling feeling that you get. It's not always about a jump scare, just making somebody feel uncomfortable can get the job done really well.
I mean, it really, it really can. And I love, I think if you look at studios like A24 and Neon, especially also right now, there's really clever stuff being done.
Right.
And I think a weird thing about horror is people often think that horror is just like gratuitous blood and guts, and it can be, and often is in some ways.
Yeah.
But people expect it to be one thing. And I think in the same way that they expect comics to be superheroes, right? Like if you're like, oh, it's a comic book movie, and I mean, like I guess Extraction from my buddy Andy Parks.
Yeah.
Extraction came from a book called Ciudad, and when you say that Extraction is a comic book movie, I mean, people are like, wait, no, wait, and it's like, well, it doesn't have superheroes. Doesn't mean a comic book movie does not mean that there are capes involved.
Right.
Just like horror does not mean that that it's going to be gratuitously violent or have a slasher in it or anything like that. I mean, and I love that we're getting that variety. And like you said, A24 is going above and beyond. I just watched Death of a Unicorn.
I haven't seen that one yet.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
My son and I watched it the other night, and I mean, you got Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega in it, and it's just an incredible amount of fun, and it's just so very different from Hereditary or from
Midsommar.
Midsommar or Heretic was another one that I really loved recently.
Yeah.
And I'm in love with storytelling. I spend so much time thinking about the things that scare me or affect me, and I want to share those with people out there.
Yeah.
And I love that other people are doing the same. I get the if I create that same feeling in others that filmmakers and creators give me, I'm doing my job.
Right. So I've just got a little bit more for you, and then we'll get you off of here. I know that you draw a lot of inspiration from when you go on trips and things. I know from in the past we've talked about this. When you were drawing for Batman, you would find buildings that inspired you and stuff. And even when doing the podcast, when you were doing the tour for The Shining and stuff, you were finding inspiration, being in the hotel and things like that. What would you say is your most inspired trip that you've taken?
Ooh. one of the, I think several, but I think one of the most transformative trips for me, it it had more to do with the feel
Yeah.
than anything.
Uh-huh.
We have family out in Oregon,
Yeah.
and we visit the Oregon coast when we're out there pretty frequently.
Okay.
And we stayed in this spot called Nesquin, and we were like in a little house right on the coast, and it was cold and wet and rainy, and you know, by the sea, and it felt so very like Lovecraftian, I guess, in a weird way.
Okay.
And and um I was not expecting to do so whenever we were there, but it was rainy, and everybody was kind of exhausted, and I ended up staying up late and wrote basically a couple of short stories, and then what would become one of the projects that I'm currently writing on,
Okay.
that is not Murder Podcast or the Beauty. It's another thing altogether.
Uh-huh.
But I started on that, and I think that like it was just the vibe of the place and the feel and the water,
Right.
and like I said, that it felt very very much, like a Lovecraftian place, even though it's on the West Coast as opposed to the East Coast and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I look, like you said, I take inspiration from all the places that I visit. And I think for me, that's part of the joy of travel.
Yeah.
I have two. They're not young kids anymore, but my sons. Um, we travel with them any chance we get,
Right.
and we really try to do so very early on.
Yeah.
Um, we wanted to give them sort of a sense of the world, and you know, growing up in the Midwest, growing up poor, and
Yeah.
we were cared for, but we didn't get to travel or do
Right.
anything,
Right. Yeah.
And I remember how eye-opening it was getting to go and travel. Every time I would do something as I got older.
Yeah.
The first time I went overseas, the first time I was in a place where I was one of only a few English speakers in around everyone else speaking a different language than I did.
Right.
And the fascination of that, and feeling like an outsider,
Yeah.
and I learned a lot about the world around me, and I respect for people that are different than I am,
right,
in any sort of way.
Yeah.
I love sharing that with my kids, so
right.
It's always a joy.
Well, it's important, and those are the memories that those are kind of core memories for the kids and stuff. I've got two teenagers myself, and I'm realizing it's not so much the things that you give them, but the time that you spend with them that is important. And those are the things that they're really going to remember, is that time that you spent with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'm grateful for it.
Right, man. I think every time we get on here, we end up having some kind of deep conversation. I think last time we ended up having something like this too. So it's always a fun time having you on the show. I really enjoy this. So I'm going to do something a little different here at the end. First off, I'm going to ask you, if people want to follow you or want to follow Ignition Press, how can they do that?
Well, you're in luck. We're all over the place at this point. Ignition Press, you can just look up Ignition Press on your favorite social media platform, and we probably have at least something on there.
Right.
We
right.
we Instagram, Just look up Ignition Press, Twitter, I believe Blue Sky, Facebook. Probably something that I think we're on TikTok, if you can believe that.
Okay.
I'm old, so I don't. But
you should do shorts from your podcast on there.
I should.
Yeah.
Bree is a marketing genius and really is incredibly good at coming up with fun stuff. And
right.
I need to try to be half as cool as she is, but we'll get there. You can find me just look up my name. I think I'm under Jerhaun, Jerhaun on Instagram and on Twitter, I believe. And then you can just look up my name on any of the other things. I will encourage you to check out the Curious Haunts podcast on YouTube. It's it's a horror vibe travel show, kind of like a spooky Anthony Bourdain. Not quite as cool as he was, but still. I have drinks, I eat, I travel to strange and unusual places. We talk about comics and talk about life and all the things in between. Also, I would like for you to I would encourage everybody, if you want like we only do snippets of stuff on social media, right? Like that's the reality is, like everybody only shows like
what they want people to see.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I traveled to this place, But like sometimes I think that we deserve more nuance. And so I encourage people to check out my newsletter.
Yeah.
It's on Substack. If you just look me up on Substack, Jeremy Haun.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of where you're going to get sort of the most complete information. I try to do it every 2 weeks.
Right.
Sometimes it's a little bit longer if I'm doing something crazy like San Diego and then, working too much during the summer.
Yeah.
But that's probably the best place to find me. I'm this entirety of September into October, I am going on tour to promote Murder Podcast.
Yeah, the signing spree.
Yeah, it's the Murder Podcast Killer Signing Spree. It's going to be, vast. I'm starting out September 5th through 7th in Rose City Comic Con in Portland.
Okay.
Then I'm going September 10th to Collector's Paradise in Hollywood, California. September 13th, I'm going to be at Legend Comics and Coffee in Omaha, Nebraska. September 17th at Samurai Comics in Phoenix, Arizona. September 20th, Bedrock City Comics in Houston, Texas. September 24th, Impulse Creations in Tulsa, Oklahoma. September 27th, Blackbird Comics and Coffee in Maitland, Florida. October 1st, Borderlands Comics and Games in Greensville, South Carolina. Greenville, not Greensville. Greenville, South Carolina. October 4th, I'm going to be at Ultimate Comics in Cary, North Carolina. October 8th, at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland. And then we're going to be at New York Comic Con, October 9th through 12th. We may add a couple of things to the end of that, but it's 11 stops. It's going to be crazy. If you're in any of those areas and want to stop by, please do. We're going to have an exclusive tour variant cover of Murder Podcast.
Okay.
And a secret variant that is wrapped in brown paper that you can only get from me specifically. And it's a super secret variant.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
buddy.
we're doing,
how's it going? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Tulsa ain't too far.
It's not, no.
Yeah. But Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. And I love touring. It's going on tour is kind of like some of the connectivity of podcasts. You get to speak directly to people. You get to connect. You get to do more than just sit in your dark studio or office alone for long hours of the day making things.
Right.
It's a joy.
Man, it sounds like I caught you like the only time that you're there, because you said you just got back from LA. So I'm lucky that I actually got to have you on the show. I really appreciate you, coming out and doing this.
We we talked about doing this for a while.
We did.
I'm glad we were able to fit it in. The thing about this is we all love these things. We love making comics. We love reading comics. We love pop culture and everything connected to it.
Yeah.
And often, and I think strangely enough, in this world we live in right now, there's a lot of feeling like we're kind of alone, separate.
Right.
And remembering that this is a community, that the people that are making these things do care about what they're making, care about each other. It's an important thing.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. All right, man. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this a whole bunch. Everybody who's listening, next week's episode will be Cullen Bunn. So I know we talked about him on here. So he said he wanted to come on after he went to San Diego Comic-Con. So next week will be him on the show too. And I'm going to leave off with something that I'm going to do that's kind of new. I usually do this at the end of the episode, but I'm not really doing a closer like I used to before. So my guest is now going to have to put up with my dad joke of the week.
Okay, here we go.
Why does the ghost hate getting caught in the rain?
Why?
It dampens the spirits.
Wow. Oh.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will talk to you for a few more minutes, and we're going to say bye here for now.
All right. Thanks, Jared.
If you give a dad a podcast, then what else would you even want to listen to? It's so news.
And to hear all the credits for everybody who was a part of making this show happen and all the friends of the podcast, make sure that you check out the show notes for today's episode. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Because it's beautiful people, then tells us who we have on. The best part of my day, though we're blacked out in my pods. Tell my friends all about it so that they follow along. And the host is kinda nerdy, but guess what I am as well. I don't feel so alone, and I began walking out of my shell. Heard a story, I needed connection I haven't felt. I'll be looking for the next one, till then farewell. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. And listen closely. Download and tune in remotely. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. And listen closely. Download and tune in remotely.
This podcast is part of the OIW Podcasting Network.
Alright, cool, sweet. Baby Jesus. Okay, cool.